Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Strong Inside and Out, the place where you always get that nugget of information that helps you be a strong woman on the inside and out. And this week, I'm very excited for our episode because sometimes things just hit me in the face hard. And this is one of those things that I want to share with you today because for years and years and years, I felt like maybe I was weird. Maybe there was something wrong with me. I knew I didn't fit in, and I'll go into that a little bit, but I think I just have to be reminded sometimes that maybe because of all of those things, I'm meant to do bigger things. I know that that sounds weird, but before we get started on this week's episode, I want to tell you about a new project that I have going on. And just in case you are a teacher or you know a teacher and you might want to share this out with them, I am working on a couple of shifts within my business. I am moving away from just doing leadership coaching for women to working more with back within the educational systems. I actually have an interview this week for a position that's a pretty good position in a school district. So fingers crossed for that. And I'm working on a couple of big projects. I've shared a little bit about them. I am filing with the Texas Education Agency to be an educator preparation provider, meaning I'll have a program for those people with a degree that want to maybe now get a teaching certification and become a teacher here in Texas. So super excited about that. And in addition to that, really reviving all of the different supports that I've done over the years for teachers in a way that can be bite-sized, digestible, affordable, and help teachers make quick changes so that they can stay in love with the profession that they started to begin with. Now, many of you listening, you're not in the world of education, and everybody's job is hard. You've heard me say that before, not just working in education, but I know education. And there are some things that I know about myself that I can do well, which is part of what today's episode is about. But one of those things is teaching others how to be great teachers. So, May 1st, I'm dropping two big opportunities. One is for those teachers who feel like, okay, I've done a great job in the classroom and I'm ready to move into administration, or at least I want to try to think about that. What are my next steps? Am I ready? So I have leadership lessons with Sherry that will be launching May 1st. I am excited about this program. It's everything I wish I would have known going into my first year out of the classroom and starting to move into leadership. And I promise you, these are not things that colleges teach you, right? Because I started my master's shortly after that. I didn't learn this in my master's, and my master's program was amazing. It really was, but it just didn't give you the real life types of things, right? It gave you theories and processes and procedures, but it didn't teach you these other underlying things that slap you in the face every day. So, leadership lessons launching on May 1st. You can get on the wait list now. It opens on Monday, the 21st. So by the time you listen to this, the wait list will be open, and the first 10 people who get registered will get the program for $200 off, which is an amazing deal. Again, I want to make things affordable and still provide you with the most wonderful support. And then the second thing that I'm very excited about, I brainstormed on Thursday. We had a busy, crazy, wild week this week in my family, and had a lot of time to do some soul searching and started to think about the work that teachers are doing right now. And part of my busy, crazy week was providing a staff development for the school that I work for currently, and realizing that there are so many little things that some teachers just don't get. They don't get the underlying premise of, they don't get the why behind it all, they don't get the easy processes and procedures that you can put into place today that will make things so much better for your classroom. So I started to think about, I have a YouTube channel and I release something every week there, and it's bite size, it's doable, but some people like everything in different kinds of formats, right? And I could write a book and I could do all of that. I've done that before, but I think more importantly, I'm going to release on May 1st a newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter that will have a theme each month. Will give teachers exactly what they need to be able to get past that hurdle, whatever that theme is, with very doable tips, and not just my tips, but things I've learned from observing teachers over the years and working with teachers. And then a link to a tool that they can use immediately that will help them get on track. The May issue will be free. After May, everything will cost $10 a month, but as an amazing deal, I want to give you an entire year. So that's 12 issues for $75. And that comes out to $6.25 per issue. You can't get anything cheaper than that unless it's free, of course, right? And when there's free, do we really, really believe in it? I don't know. So nonetheless, the the confidential, I'm thinking faster than I'm speaking today. The Confident Classroom newsletter will release May 1st. And the first content is pulling from my TED Talk. And we'll be talking about remembering your why. So I think it'll be timely. I think it'll be doable. And I'm super excited for that. So if you know teachers out there who need these little extra boosts, please share this. If it's you, reach out to me. I'll put a link in the notes on how to contact me and we can go from there. All right, so let's get back to this week's episode, which I am excited to say I titled, What If You Are the Answer? So let's get started. Back at the beginning of the calendar year, I was working on goals for my business, working on goals for my personal life. I've shared here on the podcast that 2024 was a really tough year for me. I felt like I lost my purpose. I was losing my passion. I was doubting my abilities. I was really having a hard time. And I learned a lot about myself. And one thing that I learned about myself is that although I had to go back and get a little more steady income working within a school system again, I wasn't going to give up on my dream of becoming an entrepreneur. Now we know doing anything well is hard. Making any kind of change is so difficult. And when things get hard, if we don't remember our why, if we don't feel the passion we once had for this change, and we don't really believe we can do it, especially after having setback after setback after setback, it's really hard to keep going. And for a little bit in November and December of 2024, I started to think, am I giving up on myself? And as I got this renewed spirit going into January of this calendar year, I started to think, number one, girl, you are not a quitter. You've never quit anything in your entire life. So why would you start doing it at 53? I'm not. And number two, everything is figure outable. I've heard that from Marie Forleo so many times through the little DMs I get from her and different things. And it's so true. There is no problem that can't be figured out. Now, the answer might not be easy, and getting to that answer might even be more challenging, but there is always going to be an answer. And I started to remind myself as well that life is just hard in general. And we can stay stuck in our misery, not believing in ourselves, giving up, having regret, and living that life, which to me seems awful and hard and painful. Or we can do hard and painful by taking the risk and going after the things that we believe in. And two big things happened for me right after that decision. And I'm not a big religious person. I'm very spiritual, and I do believe in signs. And I believe that somebody out in the universe, God, whatever the being is that you believe in, is going to guide you in the right direction when you ask for the help. And will be honest, I was so desperate at that point, but having that new breath of fresh air, I guess I would say, and it really felt like that. I think I said it on one of the podcasts, actually, like that song, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. It's like the clouds parted and I could see the sun again. And the two things that fell into my lap were the email I had gotten from some of the email lists that I'm on, that TEA was providing, TEA, Texas Education Agency, they were providing their yearly, one time a year, opportunity to come and learn about how you would submit to become an educator preparation provider. I have dreamed of this for about 12 years. There was something about it previously, but once I really got to this last school that I was running, I was seeing how I just didn't feel like teachers were properly trained to come in and do the work. And it wasn't that I didn't want to train them, because I've always said, I can't teach you to care, but I can teach you to teach. And I know my skill set. But I felt so bad for them, because it's almost as if you put a manager into a leader position and you just sit and watch them fail. Teachers were being put into these positions without being fully trained properly, and they were failing. And as a principal, I knew it. I could see it. I could feel it falling apart, but I couldn't stop it in the position that I was in, because there's 75 other things that have to get done every day. And my assistant principal had 72 other things to get done. And my lead mentor had 52 other things. You see, it's just this domino effect. And so we couldn't provide what we needed to many of them. And then once you hit that wall, that really tells people about your character, but it's hard. It's hard to stand up and say, let me keep going, because I was there 2024. So that fell into my lap, along with a message that came through my Facebook looking for speakers for a TEDx stage. And I did the TEDx talk on February 1st of this year, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. It's been on my bucket list my whole life since I've known about TED and TEDx. And it was Rita Pearson on the TEDx channel, because I've seen her in person before. I know she's passed away now, but she's amazing, or was amazing. And even today, I saw a clip from the speech that I saw her do in person, and also on the TED stage. And she's been gone now for years, and it still lives on. And I know that those two things happened because I allowed myself to be open to possibilities once again. I know if I had still been wallowing in my pain and still been closed off to what could come of this, what lesson do I need to learn from this, the universe would not have put those in my path. And when I sat down and I did both of those experiences, went through the training for the teacher certification and went through the experience of the TED Talk, I learned so much about myself. But it also brought up some memories of me as a kid. I would get in my closet at night. I've never been a good sleeper. I'd get in my closet at night with my notebooks, with my books, with my grandpa bought me a projector because I knew I was always going to be a teacher, and he wanted to give me a tool. So I had this projector, and I would put these little slides into my projector that I would put up onto the wall in my closet. And we had a big old house, and I had big closets. I was in there with my bean bag and my Barbies. Gosh, I think I was in third or fourth grade. And my stuffed animals, of course. And I just remember writing out these dreams and writing out these plans and all the things that I was going to do. Of course, was going to teach. I hate to admit it now, but I was going to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. I was going to be a race car driver. I was going to have a red Corvette. I was going, all of these things that I was going to do. I was a big dreamer, but I truly believed I was going to accomplish them. It wasn't a matter of if, but it was a matter of when. And then the next memory that popped into my mind was when my daughter was born. And there was a minute when all of that happened that I thought, ooh, this is going to put a curve in my plans. 19, working part-time in a restaurant, and actually had just quit that job to go off to live on campus at the University of Northern Iowa, which never ended up happening because I knew with a baby I couldn't do that. Not married. Sure, I was with her father, but I didn't know what our future was going to look like. My gosh, I didn't even know where I was going to go live with her, leaving the hospital. But I looked into her eyes and she looked up to me. And I talk about this in one of my books with this look of, come on, girlfriend, let's get this together because now I'm going to depend on you. And you need to teach me what it means to be successful, what it means to be a strong woman. And I remember thinking, yeah, I can't quit. And as I sat after the TED Talk, driving home that night, and just thinking and reveling in the experience and all of the things, it started to hit me. I can do this. I can do big things. And the very next week, we were at school. Our school leader had put out our weekly little newsletter. And in it, we had to respond to a question. If there were to be a book club in the month of March, which book would you prefer to read? And there was a list of books, and I think there were 6 on the list, and 3 of the 6 I had already read. And I thought, okay, these are really great books. Then there were 3 on the list I hadn't read, but one stood out to me. Now, I have never read any of the work of Rachel Hollis, and I don't follow her. She's just not been in my wheelhouse, not because I have anything against her, but I just have never dug into that, right? And her book was on there. What if you are the answer? And I thought, wow. Or what if you are the one? Sorry, I misquoted that. What if you are the one? And I had just come off this high of all of these great things happening. And I knew the direction in which I was going in my business now, making this shift to be more with education or back to education. And although I've never heard anything about this author, that title kept calling my name. So I clicked it. I clicked on that one. Well, February ends, March comes along. I ended up getting asked to sit on a panel where I work at an all-girls middle school, and the girls got to ask me questions about being a leader and my experiences in life and all of the things. And afterward, I got so much great feedback, not from just the students, but from the teachers as well. And in addition to that, I've been doing some staff developments for the campus and getting a lot of great feedback. And in addition to that, I had started shifting my attention from working just with teachers to working with students. And students were telling me, I get it now. I understand that now. Oh, I didn't know that before. You did a great job with that. And I tutor students in the evening. And my little tutoring students started to just flourish and blossom. I knew I could do all of this work, but when you go through a setback, you start to wonder, Am I good enough? Can I get back to where I was? When you go through a setback, you start to doubt your ability. And clearly, your confidence is going to be rocked, right? And each time this title of this book kept coming back into my mind. What if you are the one? And at the end of March, one afternoon, one of the assistant principals started coming around with a box, and one of the girls that was helping her brought this book to me and said, "Thank you for all that you do for women," and handed me the book, What If You Are the One? And rather than doing a book study, the school leader had purchased the books, a copy of each book we chose for us. And I just kept looking at that title. And I kept thinking how much work I've done since January 1st and how much impact I feel I can make. And listening to my naysayers, because clearly we all have naysayers, right? Nobody's life is perfect, beautiful. Everybody thinks you're amazing. People have criticized me for taking on too much or working too hard or not getting enough rest at night because I wake up thinking things and then I sit down and work or process things. People tell me I don't go out enough because I prefer to do the podcast or whatever it is. And even every single time I start repeating what in my mind what they were saying, I started to answer with, okay, but what if I am the one? This week was a really challenging week for my family. And I was talking to my daughter and I said, okay, so we've had this experience, but what if you are the one to make a difference for others who might go through this in the future? And we ended our conversation today with, Mom, I think I am the one. And I think her saying that is a turning point in how she's going to process some of the things. And it compelled me to bring it to y'all today on the episode. Because if you're like me and you're a big dreamer, you get lots of feedback about that, right? Oh, you can't stay with one thing. Oh, you want to do everything. I've heard it all. You're out there probably going, how in the world is she in my mind? Is she me? I also know that I'll question myself because I know that I can start a lot of things. It's my ADHD kicking in and maybe not feel like, oh, this is worth finishing. And I blame it on ADHD. But then I start to think, but maybe it's because that wasn't the path I was supposed to be on. I'm a strong woman. You're a strong woman. You're listening to this podcast because you want to be even stronger. And if you've ever felt like, wow, this really needs to change, or this really needs attention, or I really feel I can do this, have you ever asked yourself, what if you are the one? Now, in complete transparency, I've read the introduction and the first chapter. I have not gotten far into it because it's been a little bit wild and crazy the last couple weeks. However, what if we all sat down? And I'm not saying go buy the book. Of course, buy the book, give her the kudos, right? Give her the credit and all of the things. But what if we reflect on that question a little bit? I do believe, as I said at the beginning of this episode, things get put in your path for a reason. I do believe in signs. And I do believe that if you dream it, if it's on your heart, somehow, some way, it's some kind of spirit God, universe, whatever it is you believe in, putting it on your heart for a reason. What if I was the one who was supposed to take this position within this building that I'm working in right now because of the impact it was going to have on these middle school girls? What if I'm the one that's supposed to go out there and support these people who want to explore a career in education, but they just don't feel they have what it takes? What if I'm the one that, because of my work and support that I've given my daughter over the years, she now one day when she has a family can replicate that with her own children? What if I'm the one who became a principal because I had an impact and a difference on the communities that I led, and I left them a better place than when I got there? And what if you're the one to make a huge shift in your family, in your circle, in your world? When I think about it, it seems like such a daunting responsibility. But then I also think, but if I can't step up, if you can't step up and answer that calling, which I totally believe it is, who's going to do it? It's just like we can all say right now, look at social media, the world is a wild and crazy place, right? And we can change what's happening. I say this all the time. I feel like I can't change it on my own, but I can be the first one. And I'm going to end today's episode with this. And this is how I want you to think as you're going into this next week. My very favorite story of all time is the story of the man and the starfish. If you've not heard it, I'll share. If you've heard it, just bear with me. It's a good reminder, right? It's a dark, starry night. Two young gentlemen are walking along the beach after having been out partying, having fun, cutting up all the things. And as they're walking along the beach, they see this feeble old man. And he's barely making it as he reaches down to pick something up and turns to toss whatever it is into the ocean. And these two young men who are acting like a fool walk up to the man and they see that he's picking up starfish. And they look around and see that there are starfish everywhere, all over the beach, right? They've washed up on the beach as it's gotten dark. And they start kind of laughing and they say, "Oh man, what are you doing? You look like you're about to fall over here." And the older man says, "Well, these starfish have washed up onto the beach. I'm throwing them back into the ocean." And one of the young men say, "But sir, you're delusional. There's no way you can save all of these starfish. You're just being a fool." And the old man looks at the two young men, bends down once again, picks up a starfish, turns and throws it in the ocean, and replies, "You might be right, but I saved that one." Oh, my favorite story of all time. As you go into this week, I want you to ask yourself, what if you are the one to make a difference in your life, to make a difference in others? Go out there, ladies and gentlemen, and be strong, because this is Strong Inside and Out, the place you're always going to get that nugget of information to help you be a strong woman or man on the inside and out. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next week right back here.